Welcome back, my friends. I have a tale to tell before the tavern closes tonight. I have come a very long way and seen so many places. I have heard many stories, and I am happy to be here now to share them with you. So, gather round. I promised last we met to tell you the tale of a young warrior who faced the Lord of Sorrows during the war hundreds of years past. Be warned, this will not be a happy tale. It is a story fraught with pain, loss, failure, and futility. Our tale begins 50 years into the war, when demons had begun to blot out the sky here on the continent of Lorelei. Raya was a tree-born clan orc. She was tall, muscular, dedicated to her family. Before our people came to Lorelei, the orcs lived all over the Waywind Mountains and the forests of Marianne, only being pushed to the Avedonian peaks by our ancestors 100 years after their arrival. Our ancient failures forcing the green folk from the land that was once their home. Raya was born in the Marian forests. In a large clearing, her town was a small one, but there they grew crops that fed most of their region. Her father was a farmer, and his mother before him, so Raya would spend her days in the warm sun plowing the fields and harvesting whatever grew. She loved this life. When the rains began, and it became hard to keep plants alive, the tree-born orcs used their incredible gifts for magic to part the clouds just enough to keep the rain from destroying their fields. Raya had seen the human travelers, many settling around her home. They told tales of the Lord of Sorrows, a hulking man, bound in bronze armor, armed with terrible magic, and a horde of strange monsters that he forged in the deep. She assumed he was a myth, folklore the Alexite clans would use to frighten bratty children and blame for one's own shortcomings. Then the demons came. Her village used all the magic at their disposal. As soon as the stitched monstrosities descended from the clouded skies, it was a massacre. The orcs had incredible magic, lightning and fire bending to their wills, but the demons had numbers, the element of surprise, and as such the battle only lasted a short while. Raya was told to hide. As the demons swooped from the dark, she ran from her father's side. She hid in the tree line, watching as all she knew was burned to the ground, ripped apart, and dragged into the sky. She didn't know why the demons took her father's body, but she meant to find out. It's not like Raya was some grand hero. She had no formal training in magic or warfare, but something commandeered her feet. She began to walk towards the coast, tired eyes locked on the horizon. Many of her people claim it was an old Orcan god, commanding her to vengeance. Some claim it was fear and loss stealing her sanity from her, but she walked nonetheless. Across Marianne she saw other members of her clan, orcs of different cultures and histories. Many did not heed her warnings. She came across the ancient elven clans of the coast, only 2 of which still remain to this day. Many of them did not listen to her either. The Alexites she encountered, however, knew of the darkness across the waves. An old man, a member of the Alexioste Iron Guard Legion, heard of her plight and sat her down. The orc woman had been walking for days. She was dirty, starving, without water. She was unarmed, no armor to wear and no blade by her side. The old soldier had lost his arm fighting the demons during the escape. He had no use for his soldiering gear. He spent days with the local smiths, refitting his banded armor, his gauntlets. His sword needed sharpened, but there was no price he wouldn't pay. Though he tried to convince her not to go, that this path for vengeance would only lead to death, but knowing she would not listen, he refused to send her unprepared. Lessons in swordsmanship were accompanied by all he knew about the demons, the tunnels that they lived in under the earth, their weakness to sunlight, the various types of demons him and his legion had faced trying to escort citizens safely to the boats. Raya absorbed her lessons. Her mind had set aside so much that learning all these new skills and pieces of information became so easy. After a year, she was equipped and trained. She wished the old soldier goodbye and entered one of the tunnels into the demon halls of the Lord of Sorrows. Beneath our world is a massive cave, labyrinthine in nature, with staircases ascending hundreds of hands back to the surface that the demons use to hide from the sunlight, to appear wherever in the world they may need to be without prior detection. It was dark. The demons have no need for light. Raya adjusted the tall shield on her arm and drew her short sword from her hip. She walked down the staircase deeper and deeper into the dark. Something heard her. She heard a scream that echoed for hundreds of long steps all around, then another, then another. Monstrous shrieks of beasts in pain. What little light she had through the entrance helped her to see hundreds of white dots rising from the labyrinth, mangled wings taking flight. Raya kept a steady pace down the stairs as the demons began to swarm her. As soon as they were close enough, she would lift her heavy shield. Many of the demons carried crude weapons made of whatever metal they looted during the fall. Her shield held up for the first 40 days, chipping as she would walk through the labyrinth. A demon would descend upon her or rush from the dark, mangled axe primed or flames growing in its mouth. Raya would lift her shield and hurl her heavy body into them. In some cases that was enough to break bones. In others she could pin the beast to a wall long enough to stab them from around the sides. She was down there for 3 years, walking, the entire length of the ocean from here to the dead continent. Her sword claimed thousands of demons. Her shield was bent and chipped and split. Whenever she was injured, she would just sit quietly in the dark for days until her wounds healed, bandaged with whatever fabric she could tear from her cape or her shirt. She could barely see. Demons could appear whenever. She fought assassin demons, small and agile with poisonous bites, warrior demons with their bladed tails, sorcerer demons whose magical abilities far surpassed their brethren, with more hands to guide further spells. Colossal demons, who Raya could only ever reach the knees of. But she endured. When she finally emerged on the dead continent, no trees, no bird song or sunlight, only rain, only ashes. Her food supply had run dry, and the water she drank in the caves was putrid and brackish. Some theorized that she ate the corpses of demons down there in the dark. She looked around and all she saw were the ruins of towns in the distance, and one tall tower stretching far into the heavens. It was a dark place, and her soul knew that that is where she would find the monster she sought. She wandered in silence across the landscape. The assailing demons had not gone away. Now, above ground, they could come from the sky. Some were far larger, and there were variations here she had not seen below ground. One that looked like the stitched-together remains of several dragons and animals that we now call a Dravier. No matter what odds she faced, Raya survived, bloody and tired. She had begun to develop new tactics, using her mangled shield to manipulate her enemies' arms so she could attack them without retaliation. When her shield finally fell apart, she grabbed a demon's spear and began to use that to manipulate distance, using the pole to pin limbs and drag her opponents around from behind their necks. Raya had become monstrous. In her language, she had become Votve. When she reached the tower, she saw hundreds of demon tunnels around the ruins of a great city. She decided it would be best to scale it from the inside, so she wandered back into the labyrinth. However, this central chamber was no maze. Inside were hundreds of vats and piles of corpses of every clan around our world. Demons hacking body parts from them, cauterizing limbs onto pieces where they did not belong, dropping them into the vats. Hours later, demons would emerge from the pools screaming in pain and fear. Raya's heart shattered knowing that this was the fate her father had faced. His corpse melded with others, his mind likely trapped inside the bodies of one of the mutant monsters. She began to tear the room apart. There could have been 100 demons, but that was not enough to stop her momentum. She cut them to ribbons, demons stabbed with her sword, her spear, their own weapons, stomped under her boot, thrown back into the vats that spawned them and deconstructed. Raya knew it wasn't the demons' fault. They did not do this willingly, but this could not happen again. She ascended the tower, drenched in blue blood, panting and heaving. She killed demons as she trudged up the stairs. Exhausted, flooded with rage. She felt a presence and stopped. In a large empty chamber in the black stone tower stood a large man, 21 hands tall, wearing armor that was pristine and regal bronze. It was carved with runic symbols and imbued with magical effects from the boots to the helm. Inside the eye sockets were a swirling, burning vortex of light. Raya didn't know if she could kill a creature made of light. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was flesh and blood and this was all a trick. Mages' eyes change when they have magical energy. Perhaps this was the same thing. She approached, and the man stood still. He hefted a long pole with a mace head on the end, his other hand bursting into flames. Raya began to rush towards him, closing the distance quickly. He lifted his burning hand and tried to grab Raya's head, but she lifted her spear and adjusted the pole so that it was stuck against his armor and the ground. She began to stab wildly at any gap she could find with her short sword. But the Lord of Sorrows riposted by swinging his mace down towards her head. Raya quickly adjusted, leveling her spear with his shoulders and shoving him back, stepping backwards herself just to catch her breath. The Lord of Sorrows didn't need a reprieve, and from his burning hand a torrent of fire burst forward. Raya continued stepping backwards, trying not to be burned alive, the flames licking at her face. Her eyes struggled to adjust to the light. She couldn't even tell how far away he was anymore. She felt her heels slip and realized she was on the tower ledge. Suddenly the Lord of Sorrows ceased his onslaught of flame, and through the fire his mace swung downwards towards her head. She dropped to her knees, and then threw her shoulders into the Lord of Sorrows, her spear hand thrusting the blade towards the monster's side. It sunk in. The Lord of Sorrows took a step back and looked down, seeing the spear had pushed perfectly under his breastplate. Raya felt her strength return and ran towards him, adjusting her short sword, poised to slam it into the same point on the opposite side, but without even looking at the young orcish woman, the Lord of Sorrows raised his arm and swatted her aside, sending her back into the tower. He tore the spear out of his body and discarded it, turning his attention back towards Raya. The Lord removed his helmet and threw it aside. Under the bronze was an Alexite face, with dark veins over his pale skin, and eyes that danced like the sun. The skin around his eyes, the flesh itself, had burned. His hair was greasy and filthy. "What do you want, whelp?" he whispered in her language. Raya told him she was there for vengeance, and he laughed quietly to himself. "That is not something I will give you, and it is not something you may take." Raya staggered to her feet and adjusted her sword in her hand. The Lord, seemingly noticing she was done talking, began to walk towards her, his armor erupting in flame, the head of his mace doing the same. His magic began to corrupt itself, no longer the elements of earth. the fire turning a putrid green. Raya let out a cry and ran towards him. In a single move, she leveled her short sword with his throat. Moments from landing what she thought would be a lethal blow, he swung his arm down, striking Raya across the face, burning her skin. Then his mace, across her arm, shattering her shoulder, he proceeded to strike the orc warrior in the face, over and over again, his burning gauntlet scarring her forever. Eventually, she passed out. When she awoke, she was back across the sea in Lorelei, burned and bloody, laying in a field. She never knew what happened past that point, but her body was broken, her spirit shattered. She had been gone so long that so few orcs remained in Marianne, but she didn't care. She wanted to be left alone. Years later, rage welling in her soul, she began to hate magic. She claimed it was a corrupting tool, forgetting all of the good it had brought her village. Many in the East began to listen to her. She started training other fanatics, teaching them to fight with 2 weapons, immobilizing limbs, stopping magic users from fighting back. These were the first mage breakers. Soon they adopted 2 inward curving swords as their preferred weapons, using their blades to hook wrists and armpits. If the mage moved, they would likely lose a hand. Many casters struggled to use their magic without using their fingers to direct. They would call this style Vatve. The East's hate of mages was born from Raya and her battle with the Lord of Sorrows. She never did return to fight him again, but she did teach many how to fight his demons. However, her hateful art has killed an uncountable number of spellcasters, many of which had done no harm. I tell you this story because Raya paved the way for the Lord's defeat. Vatve became an essential tool for disarming and beating back demonic forces. Her studies led to the tools for binding a caster's magic and taking their powers temporarily, stopping the evil mages who aided the Lord in the creation of new demons near the end of the war. But was it worth it? In her pain, in her hurt, she decided that magic was a tool for only evil. She branded all casters heretics and sinners, and has killed thousands through her rhetoric. Her sorrow became his weapon against the world. Her grief was armed towards everyone after his defeat. Raya lost her battle against him twice. Her hate undid her. She lost herself. She lost her mind. Was her contribution worth it? Or was it simply another battle lost with a death toll that has not been counted yet? I want to end this night with a song. Lord of sorrow, Lord of woe, will we see tomorrow? I do not know. You already won. This world has knelt. You've stolen from us the sun. You brought the snows never to melt. Lord of sorrow, Lord of pain, this world made hollow, broken under your reign. How much damage have you done? Will we ever count our dead? How many years before we see the sun? How much blood have we truly bled? What pain has caused you to punish us? How can we undo what you have done? Lord of sorrow, Lord of woe, will we see tomorrow? I do not know. You brought evil out of all of us. You stole all light from our land. Even in death you've defeated us. Is this what you had planned? Will we ever rise again? Thank you all for being here tonight. This story is one without a happy ending, but I believe it needs to be shared. Next we meet, we will talk of something far lighter that brings our spirits back up. To the south, in the swamplands, a young man knew he was destined for greatness, a purpose none would understand. He left his home, he left his people. He became Tristan, the Troll Lord, the elven leader of the troll army. Until then, I have a tome of tales from every nation to share with you all. I have seen many monsters, many heroes. I have learned of the magic offered by the gods and the magic humans can conjure for themselves. I have seen warfare, and I have tales of peace. I cannot wait to share them all with you. Good night, and thank you. Legends of Lorelei is an immersive, fantasy fiction audio drama produced by Livewire Stories. This show is written and produced by Gwen Fullman. The music you heard in this episode was composed and performed by Gwen Fullman. The Bard is played by Gwen Fullman. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at Livewire Multimedia Stories to receive episodes a week early for only $2 a month. You will also receive updates on our projects, like the tabletop role-playing games or short films we've been working on. Check out our website at livewiretabletop.wixsite.com/livewire. Subscribe to us on YouTube, or join our Discord server in the description below. The best way you can support us is to show this to a friend. Thank you. And a special thank you to our Patreon supporters, without whom this wouldn't be possible.